I am excited about Crimson Desert. I think it has a bright future ahead of it. I think it's gonna do a lot of things that people are gonna very much like. And currently, already, it looks very fun. And at the end of the day, I think fun is important and that people are gonna love it if it's just fun. We don't have a lot of games that prioritize fun nowadays, and Crimson Desert looks like it's gonna prioritize fun a lot.
Crimson Desert just got some exciting news, and the one massive dark cloud hanging over this game might have actually been cleared. For the last year, every single time we saw new footage of this game, the community was asking the same questions. How is the optimization? There's no way this game runs well on console, right? All of the explosions, the NPC, the massive fights that you actually get in this game, the seamless open world, it all looks way too good to be true. But that might be true.
Does it look too good to be true? I think the game looks good. But at the same time, I don't think the game looks that much graphically demanding. You can see some pixelization, you can see some rough edges here and there. I don't think you're gonna need a supercomputer to run this thing. And as I have heard people speculate, it's gonna be runnable on potatoes, maybe even on lower settings for graphics. And, well, that's a good thing. The more people that are going to be able to play this thing with smooth, good FPS, the better, obviously. As long as the game looks like it does already, which is decent in my opinion, I'm going to be fine with it. I'm going to be excited.
Changing because we have some concrete evidence that Pearl Abyss might actually pull this game off. So today we're going to talk about the performance. We also have some updates regarding the cast that has officially been revealed. And with the crazy amount of hype that this game is getting, we are going to talk about the overall expectations. We have a lot to cover. Check the chapters for easy viewing and let's dive in. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the performance. Since the early days of the
Well, that's the performance right there. A little bit of stutter. Well, the performance is going to be definitely a question because a lot of people cannot afford good PCs at this point. So the lower system requirements for this thing to run, the better. And as we all know, well, people do want to play games on good graphics and have the graphics as high as possible and the game looking as good as possible. Let's face it, if a game is good enough, we're gonna be tolerating a lot. We're gonna be giving up a lot and not caring about it. It's gonna be like a Dragon's Dogma 2 situation where the typical computer was running like 5 FPS or 14 FPS if you were lucky in a city, and people did not care. They just powered through it, get out of the city as fast as possible, and back to the good stuff. And worst case scenario, I think it's gonna be like that, but I don't think it's gonna be that bad. I think it's gonna be fine. I think we don't really have too much to worry about here.
initial reveal, one of the biggest hurdles that Crimson Desert has had is in regards to the overall performance of the game. We've all been burned so many times by next-gen open world games that promise the world, they promise everything, literally the freaking kitchen sink, but then they release and it turns out that it's a stuttery, unplayable 30 FPS mess at launch. We've all,
as always,
lived through the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077, especially those of you that are on older hardware. We lived through Dragon's Dogma 2 dropping to 20 FPS the moment you walked into a crowded area. When a game promises a combat system like Crimson Desert, where there's literal MMA style combat where you can drop kick, use a grappling hook for a movement, and then immediately switch to your sword, the frame rate is an absolute requirement. You lagging and dropping frames every time a spell goes off, or you shoot something, or you try to do like a cool move and then the game lags, like that right there is just not going to work well. This has been the community's #1 concern. Is the new Black Space engine, the proprietary engine from Pearl Abyss, actually capable of handling this level of environmental destruction, weather effects, and the AI density without completely melting our machines? Well, we might have an answer, and it's coming straight from the Xbox Crimson Desert store page that is officially live right now. If you actually go to the listing page, you will see some very spicy tags in there that are freaking awesome. According to the official listing, the game supports 4K Ultra HD and features a 60 FPS plus capability. So let me repeat that one more time: 4K Ultra HD and 60 FPS plus.
Now, granted, that's a little bit hard to believe, obviously. If you remember Cyberpunk 2077, they also said that that thing is going to run on consoles. It did not. Now, again, I do think that even console players are going to be able to play this game, and it's not going to be horrible. Now, at the same time, I don't think it's going to be amazing. The best experience will most likely be obviously at a high-end PC, as it always is. History has taught us that pretty well, hasn't it? But still, I think it's going to be playable for consoles and low-end PCs.
We have to kind of dive into some of the specifics because the question kind of remains, are they talking about like 4K Ultra HD that's like upscaled? Will it be 1080p and then they just upscale it using FSR? So it's actually like the 4K, which is not really full, 3840 by 2160. We don't really know at this point. I'm sure Digital Foundry will probably find out some way. So I'll leave the experts to do that. But the fact that it says 60 FPS plus is pretty awesome news. Now this implies
Yep. If it's 60 FPS plus, it's gonna be pretty massive. Honestly, what else can be said about that? But it's gonna be tough. Because we have seen the previews, right? The explosions, the density of enemies and whatnot. It does seem like that would be at least a slight issue, no?
that the game won't just be hard locked at 60 FPS. It might be that there is an uncapped frame rate for, displays that support VRR or 120 hertz monitors. Now, one thing that we do have to clarify whenever it comes to the tag 60 FPS plus, whenever they say 60 FPS plus, I'm guessing that the plus will be with a performance mode that is something that is like a lower resolution but a higher frame rate. Again, we don't know the full details regarding the performance and the different modes and stuff. We'll have to wait for that, closer to launch. But the part that I'm really curious about is regarding the overall engine and whether or not this game will be CPU bound. The fact that they have this game running at 60 kind of has me to believe that that might not be the case. Like, this might not be a situation where the CPU is fully bottlenecked because of all of the crazy stuff that are happening, the AI routines and all of the physics objects, the destruction, and just so many other things will completely melt the CPU. Now, for PlayStation players,
now, since it's that in-house engine, you would think they probably have found workarounds or fixes for it, so it's not going to be that bad.
the news gets even better. We know for a fact that we're getting a PS5 Pro enhanced patch. We've known that for a while, which that also bodes well for the overall performance on the PlayStation platform. Right now, Pearl Abyss is all hands on deck with the optimization and performance. So as we get closer to launch, we were told that we should have some information regarding the various modes on the consoles. But what if you're not on a console and you're on the PC? Well, that news is just as exciting in my opinion. If you guys watched my last video, we mentioned that the PC specs that were released paint an incredibly good picture about the game being highly optimized. The minimum requirements are surprisingly reasonable. They don't require a freaking RTX 4090 just to get out of the starting area. But the ultimate proof
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
of this game's scalability on the various machines is Crimson Desert will be available on M1 MacBooks and above. Let's unpack that a little bit. Gaming on Macs are usually an afterthought for AAA developers. Most studios don't even bother, in the fact that Pearl Abyss has successfully ported a physics-heavy, massive open world game, and they made it run on the Mac architecture is freaking crazy. Now, the M1 chip is powerful.
Okay, sure, yeah, I believe that. Big stuff, yay.
I'm not gonna hate on that at all, but a Mac is completely different in terms of like the way that they're built
Oh, look at how good this looks. Look at how good this probably feels. And this is in-game footage.
to traditional gaming PCs. If the Black Space engine can run a massive game this smoothly on a laptop chip, it tells me that the scalability of this engine was a massive focus. At the end of the day, this is proprietary technology. Pearl Abyss are the ones who developed the Black Space engine, so obviously they're going to want to make sure that this thing will be able to run on whatever device.
Yeah, you would think that the people who made a literal engine for the game would probably not try and cheap out.
They want, so that way they can use it to develop mobile games and do ports for games for mobile, release their full games on a freaking M1 Mac. I'm just excited to see the success of another engine in the market, like something that isn't Unreal, something that isn't Unity, but of course,
Yeah, people are tired of Unreal Engine 5 and all its problems, hiccups, and optimization issues. And the term Unreal Engine 5 at this point has gotten kind of a bit of a red flag for gaming because a lot of people instantaneously expect a lot of bad things that most games seemingly are dealing with that choose to use that engine. Now, granted, if you optimize it properly, like for example Arc Raiders, you can get, well, you can run stuff on a toaster. But most AAA companies obviously do not care about optimization. They just want to shove a product through the door so people buy it.
course, it's worth it to just kind of wait and see with our own eyes, play the game ourselves. Now, we won't have to wait long to hear it from other people's opinions. Various press and creators will be playing the game very soon at a preview event, so we should get a pretty big influx of, opinions and a bunch of gameplay, and I look forward to watching as much content as possible. Okay, shifting gears from the technical side to the narrative side of this game, and that is, we got news regarding the cast that have been revealed. We knew that the story would be a major focus with this game, replacing the old MMO structure with the single player narrative, and the actors that they brought on seem pretty good. So first and foremost, we have Anka, who is played by Stuart Scudamore. Now, he is known for playing Rictus in Arcane on Netflix. Next, we have the leading man himself,
Who was Rictus? I can't even remember that.
Cliff McDuff, and Cliff is going to be played by the legendary Alec Newman. Now, who is Alec Newman, you might ask? Well, he is the one who played Adam Smasher in Cyberpunk 2077. And then, of course, the final major casting announcement is for the character named Damienne, which Damienne is being played by Rebecca Hansen, who is known for her work as the English voice of Eve in Stellar Blade. So we're getting both.
Well, that's a lot of good stuff, I guess.
Adam Smasher and Eve from Stellar Blade in the same crew. That sounds pretty awesome to me, in my opinion. Now, we also got confirmation that every voice in the game will be voiced by a real human, which is great. But now let's shift gears and
Honestly, don't care that much for that, but yeah, it's nice.
talk about the overall expectations and the hype for this game. Now, obviously, the hype is insanely big for Crimson Desert. It is easily my most anticipated game of the year so far. Granted, it comes out next month, so it's kind of easy to be that. The combat looks great. It looks like it's a Zelda-like or Breath of the Wild-like game, which if you guys have watched the channel for a while, you know how much I love Zelda. Like, in the fact that this game
Yeah, hopefully it's not exactly Zelda, okay?
looks like it's inspired by Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that is music to my ears. Like, this is going to be certified my crap. Like, this is my game. But with all the hype and anticipation for this game releasing, I do think it's worth taking a step back and just kind of setting our expectations. Because let's be real for a second, from what we've seen so far, it looks amazing, but just don't go in with the expectations that this will be a flawless, bug-free masterpiece on day one. Look at how much hype there was with Cyberpunk 2077. That game was
Okay, that's a little bit different, though.
insanely hyped. We should have seen them, writing on the wall with all of the delays, but alas,
Cyberpunk had also the thing that it was literally kind of almost promising people real life tier graphics. And a lot more, okay? It was promising everything. Crimson Desert, on the other hand, is not exactly promising everything. It's promising a couple of things.
we went into that game blinders on with the hype through the roof, and a lot of people were burned and it left a sour taste in their mouth. Now, we do live in an era where things are either insanely peak or they're just so awful that it's just completely abhorrent, and there's no in between. And because of that, it's left a lot of people like either deciding to like something or just completely hating on it. So I would recommend going in with a measured approach. Like, sure,
True, based and real.
is Crimson Desert massive? Does it look incredibly complex? Are there a ton of features? Sure, yes. But then there's obviously the concern about like feature creep, where they add so many things that it's just incredibly ambitious, but there's no depth. We obviously don't know yet. All we've seen is what they've shown us for the most part. My guess is there's probably going to be some jank. There's probably going to be bugs. It is a brand new engine that they're using. It's proprietary engine. Do I want the game to be perfect and have like zero jank and just be the best thing since sliced bread? Sure, of course. But that is
I mean, who doesn't, right? Honestly, who in their right mind would ever agree to less when they can have more? It just doesn't make sense.
putting this game on such a high pedestal that is really unfair to Pearl Abyss. They've shown us what they've shown us.
Nice.
And everything else, like all of the hype and stuff like that, is just kind of community driven, which I let myself get hyped as well. Like, I am part of the problem for sure. Now, these 60
This is crazy, by the way, the fact that this hype is actually community driven. People are just looking at this and being like, whoa, this looks really good. Yes, it does. True. And they're not really doing that much marketing for this, and yet a lot of people know about this, a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are expecting good things.
FPS confirmation on the Xbox store page is a massive relief, but don't expect the game to be flawless. Like I said, it's an open world game. There will probably be a little bit of jank, but
There's gonna be bugs. I am actually expecting a fair few of bugs, by the way. It would be crazy if there were not enough bugs. In any case, that was Best Nemo 10 out of 10. Bye!